let one comment override the 98% of people who loved it. Does this sound familiar? Today, we're going to be talking about QTIP. That's an acronym for Quit Taking It Personally. Let me make sure. Oh, my volume's a little loud. So, I'm going to paint the picture for you of what happened. I had a really big keynote last week, the biggest one I've ever done. And I was so excited because I was going to be, in front of many people who were winning awards, 100 people. And on top of that, it was going to give me some good connections and good people to maybe reach out to afterwards so I can do more speaking. So I was so excited and even a little nervous. Let's just be real here. I was even a little nervous about doing this and I wasn't nervous until I got to the location. And then I realized, oh my gosh, there's like 300 people in this room. This is the biggest keynote I've ever given. And I was in front of some of my peers who are professional speakers as well. So it was kind of nerve wracking. Have you ever been in a situation like this? And I talk about this all the time. This is what I teach on my channel, Fear to Confidence. And so in my own personal life, I'm always going to be pushing myself to the next level. So during my keynote, I invited up somebody to volunteer to be my wing woman or wingman, whatever, because there was men and women in the audience. And two women actually came up, and those are the two women in my thumbnail picture. Beautiful women, Brittany and Brianna. And you can see from their facial expressions when I opened up my glass walk, because I walk on shards of glass during part of my presentation to talk about focus and to talk about how we need to use our intuition to guide us in life. I walked on the glass even during my keynote, which I do in every keynote. I showed up for the audience. I showed up for everybody. I was there for them. And then on Monday of this week, I actually sat down to read all the reviews. And I got many reviews. And I thought I was reading through them. And then I got to this one review from this man. And it was somewhat negative. It was actually, you can choose to have a happy face or a frowny face or a kind of like in between face. There's 5 different faces you can choose from. And this man decided to pick the faces that were really negative. And what did it do to me? It really hurt me. And instead of reading all the amazing reviews, which I did, and focusing on those, I focused on the negative review. Now, let me back up a little because back in February, I had another keynote and I got reviews on that as well. And mine, I'm going to share with you right here. I asked for the feedback. I asked for it. I give them a slide, they have a QR code, and they get to rate and review or recommend, watching me again. And so I asked for it. I asked for the feedback. Now I give them a gift too, just FYI. And so, hey, so when I read this review from this man, I was so devastated because I thought it just really hit me at the core. Has this ever happened for you where you got a review or you got feedback, maybe you have a job, or maybe somebody in your personal life have a conversation with you and maybe confront you about something and it really hurts? We've all had this experience. The hard part for me was because this is my dream, this is what I truly desire to do for my career. To have this kind of feedback was really hard for me to take. Now, when this happened in February, I took what this person said and I applied it to my keynote because what this person said in February was, I couldn't see myself in your talk. And so I thought about it and I thought maybe, and then we had a speaker come in to the National Speakers Association. And he reminded me that my talks, just like today, are for you. They are not for me. They are to help someone else. So everything I talk about today is how can I apply this to my life? Maybe you can think about that. What could I do differently? What has Melissa's experience taught me? And that's really how I learn because I'm listening to people and I'm watching my behavior and my actions all the time. And so, how can I change? How can I be a more authentic version of myself? And so I learned from that person's comments. Maybe they couldn't see themselves in my talk because I was using the word my or I instead of you, instead of we, instead of us. So I redid some of my keynote and I've been practicing it. And this is how we have to do life, you all. We have to practice. We have to push our edge and we have to step out in fear, anxiety, because that's the only way we're going to grow. And so I was pushing myself as well in this talk because my nephews, they actually built me a platform that I could put my glass in. And so it would crunch even louder. And they put a microphone by my glass walk this time too. So it was so crunchy and it was so scary and good for the audience because that's what I want to do. I want to push your edge. I want to get you to think, how can I step into those spaces that I'm scared? So, needless to say, this review hurt and I was angry all day long. I really was. I was so mad and I was so hurt that I actually was fuming about this. And so, what did I do? What was my solution? Well, I went to the park and I went in nature. And that is one of my tools for you. If you ever feel down in the dumps or you feel lost, you feel isolated, you feel alone, go into nature. And I don't take my phone, I don't have any electronics. I just walk in nature. This is a very, very powerful tool. And I would highly encourage you if you ever feel like you're lost, alone, isolated, depressed, you feel desperate, you don't know what to do with your life, go into nature and immerse yourself in forest bathing if you want to call it that. Go into nature. And this right here, this is why I created my women's program because I wanted women to have tools to navigate their lives and go after what they want. And sometimes you are going to encounter people who don't want for you what you want for yourself. Have you ever had that happen? Tell me in the comments if you've ever had something happen where you wanted to pursue a dream or a desire and somebody in your life was not wanting you to get there. Because you know what? Misery loves company. And people who have no goals, no dreams, no desires, no any sort of wanting to change themselves or create things in their life, they're going to try to bring you down and they're going to tell you that you can't do it. And they're not going to want you to succeed because they are what we used to call in my coaching days the Archie bunkers of your life. And they're negative Nellies. And we're all going to have them. We are all going to have them. And the greatest power that you have is choice. And so I went to the park and I came home. I ate my dinner. I took a bath and I got into bed early because I thought I'm just going to read something that lifts me up to get me out of my head thinking about this comment that this man made. And so when we get this type of information, feedback, let's call it constructive criticism, whatever it is, it's not about you. It's about what that person interpreted from my talk. This is what he interpreted. And it can land on you in a way that's hurtful or you're angry, but I had to recover quickly because I have another talk tomorrow and I have another talk next month. So am I going to dwell on this? Am I going to hold tight to this negative review or am I going to move forward? And I don't know if you all put yourself out there on social media, but I remember in the days when I was on another platform doing videos and the comment says, and so when you're on social media and you're doing things in front of other people, there's always a risk. that you're going to get negative, hateful, critical comments. It's just the way it is. And we can allow it to affect us and bring us down. And we can choose either to believe it, like, is that really true? Did this man really say this comment and I'm going to ingest it and believe it? Or, and think like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Um, but instead I can say, what is this activating in me? What is this happening for me? Or why is this happening for me? Not why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? What is this teaching me? And what I noticed about myself was I was taking out my anger on my loved ones because I was so hurt and upset about this comment. Have you ever done that? Have you ever taken out your anger or your frustration on others because you're hurt or you're feeling, like you're in a dark space? I mean, so what I did was I took it out negatively on my children, and then I had to go back and make an amends to them and say, I'm sorry. Something was going on within me that was affecting me. And that's why I took it out on you. And so I was very quick to change. And how many of you have held back in your life from posting a post or speaking or showing up in a way that maybe puts you in a vulnerable space? Like, what will people think of me if I post this or I show up in this way or I speak? Because we're always taking a risk in that moment. And it's always about, and I say this in my keynote, what will people think? What will the neighbors think? What will my family think? And we have to let go of that. We have to let go of that, you know, um, belief system, or that what I call the itty bitty shitty committee in our heads. And we have to let go of that nagness. My coach used to call it nagness, the nagness in my head, or you could call it the Archie Bunker in your head if you know who Archie Bunker is. So we have to let go of that, because how are we going to move forward if we're constantly worried about what other people think? Now, and this is a great story too. I love this author. She is somebody who I've been following for a couple of years. She's on YouTube. She has her own community. She's a very spiritual person. And this was the book that I pulled to read over the weekend. And then on Monday night, when I was having this, meltdown, if you want to call it that, I pulled this book out and I started to read it. And one of the stories that I read last night was all about a woman who became a teacher, and one of her students gave her a review and said it was the worst lecture this teacher he'd ever heard. And he berated her and he criticized her in this review. And she told her friend, the author of this book, that she was never going to teach again. And I didn't think that. I didn't think, oh, I'm never going to speak again because what this man said. But she said she's never going to speak again. And what the author was saying to her was like, well, maybe the guy was having a bad day. Or maybe it really was the worst talk he ever heard because of what his perception is, or because where he was at that point in his life. Or there's so many things going on within people. And we have to just say, this is not about me, because I showed up that day with my intention being, I'm here to serve, I'm here to give, I'm here to teach, and I'm here to lift up, raise up. And you know what? Before I go into any talk I give, and this is free talks, paid talks that I do both of those all the time. And before I step into the space or go into that space, do you know what I do? I ask spirit, I call it spirit. I ask spirit to speak through me and make it not about me, but make it about the people that need to hear a message that's valuable and important and critical, maybe in their lives at that moment. That's what I do. My intention is pure. And I go out every day with that love in my heart for others. then it's going to land the way it's going to land in other people. And I have no control over that. And I have to just keep remembering that and going forward. But do you know what some people will do? They will give up their dream because of negative or critical or being berated by somebody else. They'll give up their dream. Their skin will be not thick enough to take it, and they'll give up what they truly desire. And so many people quit because somebody said something negative or something that was hurtful, and we take it seriously instead of we stop taking it personally. So, if anybody has a question today, I would love to answer your question. I said I would come on here every Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time to do a live coaching. If you have a question and you want some coaching, I am happy to help you because that's why I'm here every week, 12 p.m. on Thursday, Central Standard Time. Sometimes the internet won't let me get on here, but for the majority of the time I am. And so if you have a question, you can put it in the comments and I would love to answer it for you. And I'm just really grateful. Like, I got another talk tomorrow, and I'm so grateful that I get to do this again because I know there are a lot of people out there struggling and suffering in fear. And people need to hear that there's a way for us to move forward, that we can do it, that it is possible, that we are infinite beings, that our true divine nature is being unstoppable, and we have superpowers. And that's really what I want you to ingest or understand whenever I come on here, is that I am somebody that wants you to let go of your fear and step into confidence in doing the things that you want in your life. So, just to close, since I did mention my program briefly, if you're a woman who is ready to stop shrinking and start showing up fully, just go check out my program, Find Your Fire. It's a 5 module program. You can do it at your own pace. It's at reclaimrebuildrestore.com. I put the link in my description, but you don't have to do life alone. There's always people out there that are that are going to be people who support you and love you and want you to succeed. And then there's going to be the people who, like I said before, want to take you down into the doldrums and want you to be miserable and and want you to not succeed. And you have to let go of those people. You have to let go. You know, one of my coach used to say to me all the time, you have to play the game of life like it's a baseball pitch, or where when you're a baseball batter and they throw a pitch and you swing and it's a strike, you got to erase that from your memory and move on. And if you get another strike, you have to erase that from your memory and move on. And if you strike out, erase that from your memory and move on, because there's always going to be people who are not happy in where they're at in their own life, or they just see everything from the glass half empty. And I'm definitely not one of those people, and I will never be one of those people, because there's always a way. And I want to be a supportive, loving person for everyone that comes into my environment. And this is what I even said. And this is something my mom would say: if you can't say something nice, don't say it at all, or reframe it to say it in a way that is gentle, but maybe honest and truthful, depending on the type of situation you're in. But I think that that is what this man could have said. And the person before could have said, um, instead of just saying, sometimes we want to criticize somebody and just criticize them and not say the why or the what or the how to make a difference. And so, for example, the person that said to me last or in February, I couldn't see myself in your talk. Well, why not? Give me the reasons instead of hiding, which a lot of people, as my children have said to me many times, especially when you're live on certain platforms, people will hide behind screens and say whatever they want because nobody can see them. But for this person to write, I couldn't see myself in your talk. So then what what could be different, right? What could change from that person who's giving you helpful, maybe comments, feedback, reviews? Do we go to a job interview or do we get a job review and they don't tell us what we need to improve on? No, they're always supposed to say, like, maybe your sales weren't as good. Here's some things that you could do to be better. And that's the kind of mentor I am for sure. Like, if you want to be better and you want to do better, then be honest and give the feedback to somebody. Don't just hide behind your comments. Actually say what that person could change. So, thank you all for joining me today. I so appreciate you being here. Please like, should share, subscribe with somebody that maybe needs some upliftment or some help. And I thank you for being here. I will be here. No, I will not be here next Thursday because I have a brunch with my daughter. So I will not be here next Thursday, but I will be here the following Thursday. So I hope you all are having a super wonderful, fabulous day. If you're interested in my program, the Find Your Fire, just go to my website. You can get some info there. And if you have any questions, you can put a comment here. All right. But I hope you all are having a super duper wonderful, wonderful day. And just remember to keep on keeping on, even when you get those negative comments or reviews. Keep on keeping on. Keep showing up and following your dream and going after what you know to be true in your heart, because that's where the magic happens. All right. See you soon.